What is going on YouTube? I am Xenofade and today I am going to be doing a video on beginner CSGO tips and tricks. Now this is more directed towards our CSGO team Xeno clan, and if you would like to apply and possibly get on a team for competitive gaming, we do tournaments, competitive matchmaking, and a lot more practices weekly. Things like that. Go to xenoclan.com, XENOCLAN.com, and you can go to the apply page and apply. Now we are going to start off with more beginner tips and then move into a little bit more intermediate tips and tricks for CSGO. Alright, now that we are in the game, let's start on our first tip. So this tip is on recoil and spray versus burst, single fire, medium range. I usually like to keep it to burst and single fire versus close range. I usually like to spray, especially as a beginner. You do not want to be spraying the whole clip from this without recoil control. So with such low recoil resistance, your bullets will be going way off target up into this range, and that is not good. You're never going to be hitting a target from this far away. 6 bullet. Now once you master the recoil or somewhat get an idea of it, you can obviously hit most of your shots onto target. The recoil does get a lot harder, especially with the AK. The AK has one of the largest sprays in the game. So there's an example of the AK spray. As you can see, it goes up, right, left, a little bit right, left, right. And so when you're at such a distance and you haven't mastered your recoil spray yet, I completely recommend single fire for just tapping. Obviously, you probably won't have your sensitivity changed and everything. Intermediate players might, but I do recommend going to your keyboard and mouse, changing up your sensitivity and your DPI on your mouse, and making it perfect where it's smooth, but you can also check corners really quick. And you want to make sure that you can be able to do at least a 90-degree angle with your mouse sensitivity. But you also want to make sure it's smooth and not overreacting to where if you wanted to aim right here, you're not going like that by moving your mouse. Alright, the next big tip I want to get into is turning your back on enemies, which is something you should never do. You should always be watching the direction in which you think or you know enemies are coming from. Okay, so let's say there's a guy mid-doors and you know he's mid-doors because it was called out. So now you're going to want to always be watching that angle. Always be ready for him to peek out. Okay, you never want to be looking this way while an enemy shoots you in the back. He has a higher chance of killing you at that rate. So another situation is I see a lot of people in casuals walking up this ramp, just looking up here, waiting to peek long. And what you should be doing is instead of just looking at that car, if there is somebody long and they're close long, then yes, continue looking at car. But what you also want to do is always be looking up at cat, because most of the time full teams do not go to one spot. They'll sometimes do splits, and that is where they will get you. They will get you on cat if you're looking over here. They will just shoot you in the back. Now, if you're turning the corner, let's say, then you can look this direction, and then when you fall back again, make sure you turn your head right back to cat, as you do not want to get shot in the back. If they are pushing up, continue looking at long. If you could smoke off cat, that would be ideal. And yeah, that's tip number 2. For tip number 3, I see a lot of beginner and intermediate players do this, and it really hurts. It hurts my feelings that you guys do this. Some people don't get this for some reason. I've explained it to many people, and their skills improved, and their KD has also improved because they have been getting more kills this way than deaths, as they're not able to react fast enough. So what I'm talking about is giving yourself some reaction time. So instead of, if you're peeking this angle and you're holding it right here, and there's a whole team coming by, you don't want to be looking right at this wall. Very few people, if any, I mean maybe pros, but besides that, beginners, especially intermediate players, do not have a reaction time to shoot the second people come around this corner unless they have hacks. So the best way to explain this is if they peek this corner, you're going to have to overreact over here that couple milliseconds to be able to aim onto them and then shoot. Now that couple milliseconds is everything. So instead of aiming here, you should aim here, depending on where your reaction time is, and you just kind of gauge, by practice, you kind of gauge where your reaction is, to where you finally realize that they have come around that corner and you have to shoot. This is because your brain needs time to react to things and send a pulse to your hand to be able to click the mouse. So if you're aiming here, it doesn't give you much time, so your brain is telling your hand that you need to move it to the left to be able to react and shoot on target. So instead of that, you just aim here, and then if you need to adjust, you just micro adjust instead of massively adjusting your mouse. You just micro adjust, and this will effectively get a enemy player if they are wrapping around a corner. See, instead of looking right here where I have to react to it, I no longer have to react to it if I'm looking out here, and most likely they're not going to hug this wall, they're going to come wide like this. They're going to come around the corner prepared, and now that you're sitting here and your crosshair's already on them, you're more prepared than them. You don't have to react because your brain is already processing the fact that people might come through this way, and that is giving yourself time and an advantage over your enemy team. Alright, the next tip would be trajectories. Now, I've seen this multiple times where people throw it and it completely goes off to where they don't want it. So, for example, when people are sideways walking and they want to smoke tons right there, right? They're gonna mess up their smoke and it's not gonna hit where they want it to. So you want to practice trajectory, where if you counteract it by aiming a little bit more right, and you still do the same thing, it's going to hit at least a little bit more on target or in the direction that you want it to. So aiming a little bit farther right, it does take practice. You're not going to get this on first try unless you do a lot of practicing, probably. And that really goes for anything. Now our next basic tip is going to be on being a team player and not a solo player. This is huge. I see many people in multiple different ranks. Now I'm not saying I'm the best out there. I'm definitely not, by far. I'm only Gold Nova 3, so by far not the best, but I do see this still where people are going solo and just trying to get kills, and you see them die, and now it's a 5v4. Now the other team has an unfair advantage over you because you only have 4 players. So being a team player means everything. Being with your team constantly. This doesn't mean baiting, so while your teammate goes out there, you don't sit here. You want to all push as a team, so when one person goes in, you want the next person to be right behind them to get their back and essentially watch. So basically with XenoClan, again, as I said, if you want to apply, you can. We got practices and everything to help you out, so you should definitely apply. Anyway, I'm entry fragger, so I'm going in there guns blazing, right? So on our team, I'm the first guy to go in. The owner, Dragon, is second person to go in. He is an assault. So as I'm entering this B site, I'm looking first right here. Okay. If we fast push it, we know we don't have to check the left corner. But anyway, if I'm pushing in first, we usually smoke off the middle of the site. This is an execute. So we usually smoke off the middle of the site, and then wait for that to pop for a sec, and then peek it right before it pops so that you can get an idea of who's on A site. And then you can also look at window, and then you wrap around, look here, and as the second person is coming out, he's checking the left corner, and he's also going all the way around and checking a site as I wrap around this way. And this prevents them from getting really many positions on us, as it's going to be more difficult to kill people going different ways and executing the plan differently. Now, another basic tip is economy. You want to pay close attention to economy. It means everything from when you should buy, if you think you're going to lose a round, if you're going to win the round. Now, if you have to also pay attention to the enemy team. Do they have guns? Now, there's a specific way to calculate if the enemy team has enough money to buy guns or not. You don't have to get that in depth. I never have, but I know a general idea of if they're going to be able to buy guns, what kind of guns, submachine guns, assault rifles, things like that. Are they going to be able to buy armor and kits like that? Are they going to be able to buy snipers? It really comes down to what they're able to buy, and it kind of varies in whether you should save your money. So like now that I have 1,700, I'm going to be around the $4,000 mark if I win this round, and I'm only going to be at the $3,200 mark if I lose it right after a win. You want to spread it out and get the most out of your money instead of spending all your money in one bet, basically, one round. Alright, and for our next tip, we are going to be focusing on rotations. So, rotations is a huge part of the game. It depends on whether you can get to a site faster than an enemy can. You want to make sure your rotations are very fast. Because as T-side, especially on Dust 2, you are at a disadvantage. They have a straight line from A site to B site. So, we have to go around here, and then we also have to go a little bit around and then back into B site. So we're at a huge disadvantage. So when you're making these rotations, you might want to throw a molly, a smoke, or something that distracts them, thinking that you're still gonna attack at A while you quickly rotate B. You gotta also make sure you're watching out for crossfires. So let's say there's a crossfire there, you want to peek. You want to peek with your gun out and not your knife. And then you also want to still clear the site. Make sure it's clear. Don't go walking in there with the knife and everything. And yeah, that's a rotation. You would rather do a rotation from cat to B tunnels instead of going all the way around to T spawn and back, because that is going to be a much slower rotation and they are going to get there before you. Alright, for our next beginner tip, this seems really basic, but some people still don't realize it. So, in CSGO, if you look at the top left corner, if you look at my top left corner too, it's going to say exactly where I'm at on the map. So if you have trouble with callouts or spotting locations for enemies, it's really just memorization and remembering what locations people are in and where those locations are. So if you look right here, this is, for some reason it says under A, which some people might understand as it's a simple call out, but a lot of people call this elevator. And then as you will see at the top left corner, this is a ramp, and this is a part of long, so somebody says long. And then if you go down there, that's pit and etc. There's a lot of callouts, a lot of memorization. It's really tough, but after playing the game for a bit, you're definitely gonna get it. You're definitely gonna get the idea of callouts and locating enemies. Alright, for our next tip, I see this way too much, is people exposing themselves too much. People walking out in the open, sometimes right against this ledge, so let's say for example, and their whole body is exposed. That puts you at a huge disadvantage versus if you were to be back here, watching for enemies crossing to a site. You definitely want to be showing a lot less of your body so that it's a lot harder for them to hit their shots. So as you see, I'm really only exposing my chest and head area rather exposing my whole body like this. Also, when planting a bomb, some people think it's a good idea to plant right here when there's enemies that could come up cat or long, but if you know you have it secured with smokes and everything, go for it. Want to plant a little bit more reserve, and if you just came from cat, a good idea might be to plant for cat since you know you're holding it rather than planting where you can't see the bomb if you're not on site. So that is being more reserved and not exposing yourself. Alright, and for our next beginner tip, we are going to focus on movement. Now, a lot of people might not know this yet, but if you move with your AK out, or any gun really, you are going to be slower than someone running with their knife out. So if you're, I don't recommend it peeking enemies, or where you think enemies can be. Definitely don't peek them with your knife, but let's say you're just now spawning, and you're going to run A long. It's going to take longer to get to A long if you have your AK out. So you want to have your knife out so you can get there a little bit faster. Alright, so for our next tips and tricks is mastering the recoil of the AK or really any gun. So usually what you can do, go into a workshop map, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a second, but even just, you know, spraying against a wall, mastering your spray is very important, as you may miss less bullets and hit more on target, because you don't want to, if an enemy was standing right here and you're aiming at his head right here, you don't want to like miss the first bullet and then your second bullet goes off and then your whole clip gets loaded out and up into the air. So down and then left, right, as I said before. So that is recoil mastering. Alright, the next tip that aggravates a lot of players, and I understand beginner players doing this, but I don't exactly support it. It's not going to really help you out, and this would be baiting your teammates, and it's just as bad as it sounds. So if I were to be entering and I'm shooting this corner and I'm getting shot, and you're just standing back here waiting for me to kill him, it would be most beneficial to have support. It's 2v1, has a higher chance. We have an advantage versus him, and it's just overall better. But if you're baiting, it's 1v1, and I might be having difficulty hitting my target or whatever. But baiting, I don't see as a good solution, and as a beginner player, you're not going to get a high rank necessarily if you are baiting and then just dying. If you're getting kills after it, I guess good for you, but again, this is a team game, not a solo game where you're left the last one trying to kill all 5 members. Alright, so this tip is very handy with practicing your aim and consistency. So what you're going to want to do is hit Shift Tab and then go to Workshop up here, and that'll bring you to a lot of custom made maps, and there's a lot of helpful training maps out there. You can really download anything you want, try and see what you like. Personally, I recommend this one called Bots, and it's going to be this 5th one, or if you find this one with this thumbnail, this one is the best training map in my opinion, and we will load into that right now. Alright, now that we have loaded into this map, this is basically aim training for csgo. This is the best of best, I personally think. So what you're going to want to do is when you load in, I usually take these, turn them to red, and basically what that will do is it'll make all the bots onto one side of the map, and this is a lot easier to train with. As you see, you can just hit 1 taps, aim for the head, So you can practice your sensitivity, and you can also practice, like, if you should change your sensitivity up or down, which I should probably turn it down. Since I'm overreacting right there, I should turn it down just a tad. But anyway, this will help you not only with your sensitivity, but you can also practice. Try to get to 100 kills as fast as you can, and this will help with your time and reaction time of bots spawning. Okay, so as you can see, it times you, and I got 60 kills in 36 seconds or so. And overall, it's just a great training map to get you warmed up for your games, and yeah. And that is all that I have for this episode of CSGO tips and tricks. If you would like another one for more intermediate players or more in-depth tips and tricks, leave a comment down below, leave a like if you liked the video, and also subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you would like to join XenoClan, make sure you head to xenoclan.com so you could play with our team and practice with our team. Thank you guys for watching.